So in this video, I'm going to talk about an invoice. This is the invoice you're going to send to your customers. What is an invoice? What's the purpose of an invoice? And what information should you include on that invoice before you send it to your customer? So what is an invoice? So an invoice is a document telling your customers what you have done for them, so the service you have provided, and showing them on that invoice how much they need to now pay you for that service you have provided. The purpose of the invoice is simply to get paid for the service that you provide, and also to act as documents for your accounting system as well as your customer's accounting system. They're going to want that document as well. So what should you include on your invoices? So this is from the demo system within Xero. And the first thing you want to make sure that your invoice states is that it is an invoice. So in Xero, they call it a tax invoice. You might want to call yours a sales invoice, or you might just want to lose that word completely at the front and just call it an invoice. But you definitely want to put the word invoice on this document so that when you send it to your customers, they know exactly what it is. It's an invoice. You're also going to put your company details on, so your logo. So in this case, we've got demo company at the top. And on the right-hand side, we've got the demo company's address. So that would be your company's address details. So you would set those details up in Xero, and they would then feed through onto your sales invoices. You're also going to want to include the company that you're invoicing, the company's name and their address. So in this instance, we're sending an invoice to Ridgeway University, and we're going to put it to the attention of the accounts department, and that's their company address. The invoice date. Now, this is usually the date that you raise the invoice, and it's important to put the invoice date here because that actually starts the countdown to trigger the payment. So if you put an invoice date of 28th of June, as they have here, and your payment terms are 30 days, then the countdown starts from the 28th of June. It's the invoice date that your payment terms will start from. So always try and raise your invoices as soon as that work has been completed, or if you have agreed with your customers that they will pay in advance, raise your date as soon as possible because the countdown for those payment terms is going to start from that invoice date. Invoice number, this is just the next sequential invoice number in the system, and Xero will automatically populate that for you. The reference, now this is not a mandatory field. You can put something in here or you can leave it blank, and the reference can either be a reference that means something to you in your business, or it could be a PO number. If you're sending invoices to businesses, quite often they will give you a PO number to show on the invoice when you send it to them. Now, if you don't deal with large enough companies, they might not give you a PO number, in which case you would just leave it blank. Or the reference could be the person that came to you and ordered that service. You could put a person's name there. If you are a VAT registered company, you will need to put your VAT number on your invoice, clearly visible, which is why the default in Xero puts the VAT number up the top there. And that's just something you would put in Xero, in the Xero setup, and that would feed through onto all of your invoices. And then going down into the main body of the invoice, you're going to type in a description of the work you carried out for that customer. Put as much detail in there as that customer's going to need so that when they receive the invoice, they know exactly what you've charged them for. The quantity, so say you were on a day rate for a customer, you could put 1 day and then the day rate, say £400, or you might have worked for them for 5 days that month, so you could put 5 days and your £400 day rate. So whatever the quantity and the unit value is. And then if you're VAT registered and your service is a VATable service, you're going to add 20% VAT on. which would then show the total GBP plus the VAT, and then the total that they owe you for that service is £6,187.50. So that's how they know how much they've got to pay you. And then going further down, this invoice has got a due date of the 8th of July. So when you create your invoice, so this one was dated on the 28th of June, you're going to tell the system when that invoice has to be paid by, the due date. Now, you're going to want to have those conversations with your clients way before you even get to the stage of sending them an invoice. So when you start working with a client, you need to explain to them what your payment terms are. If they're 14 days or 30 days, have that conversation up front and make sure they are aware of your payment terms. You really want to make sure that they understand that they are your terms, and if they want to work with you, these are your payment terms. Otherwise, what will happen if you don't have that agreed, when you send the invoice to them, they might have payment terms of 30 days. And they may not pay you until 30 days. I mean, some large businesses don't pay you for 60 days, and I have even seen 90 days as a standard payment term. So it's really important when you're taking on a new client, right at the beginning of the negotiations, make sure they understand what your payment terms are. And then just underneath there, you're going to tell them how they can pay you. So have you got, this one's talking about checks, and hopefully no one's still using checks. So you'd want to remove that line when you're setting up your Xero account. But you're going to want to put your bank details in here, so your sort code and your account number, if they are to pay you by direct bank transfer. And within Xero, you can also set up payment links. So these are links where if we clicked on this, and obviously this is a demo company, so the payment links are not going to work. But what it would do, it would take you to the invoice, online invoice, and then up the top left, there's a Pay Now button. Now your customer can click on that, and they would be taken then to your PayPal account or to your Stripe account, whatever your online payment method is. Obviously for the demo company, we've got an error message there because naturally they don't have a PayPal account. But you want to make it as easy as possible for your customers to pay you. So for bank transfer, make sure your bank details are very clear on the invoice. But if you want to pay them online, you could set up payment by Stripe. I wouldn't advise PayPal because they do take quite a large fee unless you do tell your customers to pay you as friends and family. And then obviously PayPal won't take the fee. But there's lots of different ways you can set up payments to be made online so that you make it as easy as possible for your customers to pay you. And then down the bottom, you've got a tear off slip here where you could cut that piece of the invoice away and post that back to your customer to say thank you for your payment. Again, that's about as archaic as them paying by checks on here. So when you set up your invoices in Xero, you can just switch that section off. No one does that anymore. And then the other thing you want to make sure, if you are a limited company, is down the bottom. It's quite small here, but you're going to want your company registration number and your registered office address. You're going to want to put that information on your invoice. So that's what an invoice is and all the information that you want to put on your invoice. And the ways that you can now send that invoice is you could print it out and post it to your customer. Or if you're dealing with your customer face to face, you could print it out and hand it to them. But one of obviously the benefits of using Xero is you can electronically email this invoice to your customers, and that is a click of a button in Xero. You would set up the email address of your customer within Xero, and then you would email it to them. You've then got a record of it in your Xero account. They've now got an email of it in their inbox with a PDF attachment, and they can easily use that for the record keeping their end. So I hope you found this video useful. This is going to be part of a small series on how to invoice your clients and how to get paid by your clients. So this is just the first video that shows you what an invoice is, the information you need to include on it.